7. The number of times the opening song plays, out of 22 episodes. 18. The number of episodes that last 26 minutes or longer, 8 of which last over 29 minutes. There is a unique dedication given to ReZero Season 2 by White Fox Studios. I have never seen an anime consistently cut the opening and ending songs to a show and extend its airtime in this way. It's honestly unbelievable. Since that extra bit of airtime costs more money for the studio, the natural question to ask is, why go that far? Why push the envelope beyond the standard 24 minutes of air just to get a few more minutes in a single episode? What is it about Season 2 that calls for this type of special treatment? To answer that question, we should first look at ReZero as a whole. If you asked me what ReZero is about, I'd probably say ReZero is about this guy who gets transported into a dangerous fantasy world where, if he dies, he responds to a checkpoint in time, keeping all the memories he had before he died, allowing him to make adjustments to prevent his death or the death of others. And while accurate, what I actually just described is ReZero's gimmick. A gimmick is a trick or device used to attract attention, and in this case, it's Subaru's return by death and the dark twist on the isekai genre. These are the things that made ReZero stand out in a sea of isekai, but they aren't necessarily what the show is about. Okay, so if it's not that, then what is ReZero about? This might sound ridiculous when I say this, and it kind of is, but the answer didn't really click for me until Season 2, Episode 46. Like a lot of other people, sometimes when I watch a show, I'm taking it in, but I'm not really thinking per se. At least, not until I'm done, or have seen enough to finally reflect on it. And ReZero, especially during Season 1, was one of those shows I just watched, enjoyed, and was impressed by the visuals. I loved the music, and was on edge with every reset or revelation. Which is fine, but what it means is that I wasn't really internalizing what I saw in the show. And it wasn't until recently that it finally hit me. Oh. ReZero's about broken people. When you look at the backgrounds of all these characters, it starts to look more obvious. Before the events of ReZero, Subaru was a depressed dropout that lost his place in the world and isolated himself from everyone and everything. Emilia was a self-loathing girl, haunted by not only tragedy, but especially by her current or past flaws and mistakes. Rem lived in the shadow of her sister's talents, and when Ram lost her horn, Rem felt the need to atone for the satisfaction she felt from her sister's sacrifice. She carried that guilt, held a deep distrust for outsiders, and pushed herself much harder than she needed to. Beatrice has felt trapped for the past 400 years after a promise, and hasn't been able to truly live for herself and make her own decisions. Garfield's been distraught ever since his mother left him and his sister. He's developed a twisted hope that his mother was a bad person, so that it could justify the loneliness and sadness he's had to endure. We've yet to learn the truth about Roswell, Echidna, and Betelgeuse, but I think I've made my point. ReZero has so many characters trapped in their past, never being able to move forward, and it's a theme that keeps reoccurring. And it's depressing, awful, and scarily hits too close to home for a lot of people, myself included. When you take all these tragedies at face value, ReZero looks like an unbelievably bleak show. There's so many regrets, traumas, and deaths. It's all awful to hear. And yet, in the face of all these things, ReZero holds an inspiring amount of hope. I talk about Subaru in a different video, but he essentially learns to surpass his ego, accept his weaknesses, and take the help of others. He's come a long way from where he started, and since then, he's become a beacon for people around him. Subaru showed Emilia that she could still be loved by others despite her flaws and mistakes. He showed Rem, who was distrustful of others, to rely on friends and not look back. Subaru showed Garfield to take a hard look at himself, and finally be honest with his feelings. Subaru gave Wilhelm a second chance at the closure he's needed since his wife's death. Subaru even promised Satella that he'd save her, and with the season coming close to an end, it won't be long before he goes on to help Beatrice. And just as ReZero shows healing, it also shows the sheer destruction past hurts can affect people. Roswell and Echidna have become antagonists of sorts, both with a twisted ideology on how to approach life and people. Subaru and Emilia, now much stronger people, face off against them, both physically and mentally. Perhaps it's cliche for the main character to go around saving as many people as they can like a shonen protagonist would, but I think the way that it's done is very appropriate and natural. The author made Subaru a very imperfect protagonist. He is flawed and has his relapses where he doesn't take his own advice. This has led him to repeat the same mistakes as he's made in the past. And this is just how real people function. It's Amelia, Rem, Otto, and even Satella with the witches who are there to pull him back up. And like wildfire, the good deeds he does for others spreads. Garfield can protect his sister. Amelia can now challenge Roswaal and Echidna from their mental onslaught. Garfield and Amelia were able to grow as independent individuals directly because of Subaru. Perhaps all of this seems nauseatingly positive, but I believe this would only be the case if these ideas were rushed. White Fox Studios has gone above and beyond to make sure the dialogue and pacing is given the time it needs. And considering how much the anime has to condense with the time that it has, I think they've done an incredible job. To finally summarize, if you asked me what ReZero is about, I'd say this. ReZero is about broken people that keep living. In spite of the deep scars they carry from their past, they learn, with the help of others, how to move forward with fiery purpose and camaraderie. And this development begins with the individual who spreads their own growth to others to help them move on. ReZero is a dark story of tragedy and suffering, but it's also full of hope, companionship, and healing. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.